Let me check on my phone if we are live. We should be live. If you can hear me in the live chat, please let me know. So anybody in the live chat, I think we're live. I think everything's fine. But it would be nice if somebody could confirm in the live chat that you could hear me. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be reviewing this video by this Shia-based channel called Islamic Pulse. This is a guy. This is the person that usually has content on this channel is a guy that is not Iranian, but he's based in Iran. It's very interesting because all the stuff, all the propaganda from Iran, all the Islamic Shia Islamic nonsense that I used to hear as a child, growing up in Iran. On this channel, on this Islamic Pulse channel, which now I'm following. I've been following it for a while. Now I'm hearing it in English. Like, it's so nostalgic. Like, all the stuff that they told us in school, all the nonsense, all the brainwashing, all the propaganda, from grade 1 elementary school, then to high school and university, all that nonsense. Now I'm hearing it in English, and it's nostalgic, and it's weird to hear it in English following this channel. So basically, this channel, what it says, if you guys want to hear, if you want to see what the propaganda in Iran is and what Iranians are telling, Iranian government is telling Iranian people, but you don't understand Persian, but you want to hear it in English, this channel, the Islamic Pulse, is a perfect place for that. So I was actually, when Qasem Sulaymani was killed by the Americans, I was waiting to see what this channel is going to say. And, you know, to me, the things that they said was everything I expected they would say. But I think when I tell you guys something like this is the narrative from Iran, I might be biased. You might think like, well, Armin is just going to put his own twist on it. So it's just it's just good to hear it from the people that have, from Iran, the people that do support the Islamic Republic, the people that are doing the propaganda. Just let's hear it from them and see what they have to say, right? And review it as well. Let me see who's in the live chat. David is, hi, Kafir. Hey, Kafir, live. You're live. We can hear you. David saying we can hear you. Julian, I see you. Shia Islam is all emotion. Religion is all emotion. Anyways, let's, I'm going to start playing this video. Let me make sure it's not muted. And you guys tell me if you could hear it, okay?
فتجاوز عنهم اللهم إنا لا نعلم منه إلا.
So let me just give you some context. This is the video that is promising that Iran is going to get revenge. Like, if you think you killed Qasem Soleimani and you're going to get away with it, the video is supposed to show how united the Iranian people are, which we'll get into that, and how big of a backlash you're gonna feel from Iran. Like, you're not gonna get away with killing our top general, and that's basically the whole theme of this video. So it starts, the first scene that you saw with all the people in black. These are people that are shortening for the morning ceremony to cry over the death of Qasem Soleimani. And if you're here, you're supposed to cry, right? You cannot just show up here. And, you know, you can not cry. Like, it's not like North Korea that you're going to get shot if you don't cry. But if you're here, you're already part of the Islamic Republic. You're part of the people that support the Islamic Republic. And you know that you're supposed to make yourself cry, even if you don't feel that you have to make cry. And this is the supreme leader crying. You know, this is not, people are like, oh my god, they're so upset. This is not really unusual. Like, every Ashura and Tasu'a, they do this for Imam Hussein, who died 1400 years ago. These people have mastered how to just make themselves cry, because we had to cry. I had to cry. Like, you had your religion, when you go to mosque and it's like that day of the year that is the anniversary of Imam Hussein dying. You know, they look at you like, who's crying, who's not crying, why are you not crying? So you have to train yourself on how to pretend to cry at least, right? But anyway, so this is not like, when you see this, like he's crying, it's, to me, people are like, oh my god, he's so devastated. And this is normal. Shia Muslims, they know how to cry. So this is, you can see the bodies of two of the people that died. You can see there's other people that died. Like, I think, how many people died in that United States attack on that car? I think it was 6, but nobody really cares about the other 4. I think, was it 6? I don't know. Let's say 6. But the other people that died, nobody cares about. The 2 people that everybody cares about is these 2 people, right? Qasem Sulaymani, who you can see his coffin is wrapped in the Iranian flag, and Mr. Mohandes, Abu Mehdi Mohandes, right? And his coffin is wrapped in Iraqi flag, which is interesting. Why is his body in Iran? They brought it all the way to Iran. I guess they brought it for the ceremony. But you can see if he continues. Wait, so the guy that was doing the sermon, here's an interesting thing. Like, so what did the guy say? Hold on. You can hear him saying in the loudspeaker. This is very detailed. Everyone's crying. So see, everyone's crying. The guy that has the microphone and saying, he's supposed to say stuff that makes your heart heavy, makes you really sad. And what he said over the microphone was, "Oh Allah, we know nothing of this person except good." So it's kind of like somebody is dying and they're doing. God is now trying to decide whether not trying, it's God, but God is deciding he's going to go to heaven or hell. And people are like telling God, like, we know nothing of this guy but good. Like, telling Sulaymani is like, obviously he's the best person we know. He's gonna go. So people are crying, "Oh my God, we know nothing about him good." But the interesting thing about what he's saying on the microphone is, guess what language he's speaking in? This guy is in Iran. All the audience are Iranian. The language of this country that they're in is Persian, but he's speaking in Arabic. Why is he speaking in Arabic? Right? Like, this is the more religious part of the community, and that's why he's speaking in Arabic. And the person that is speaking in the microphone, his language is not Arabic. His mother tongue is probably not Arabic, right? But for this religious ceremony, they're speaking Arabic. Anyways. Let me see what you guys are saying. Make sure you tag me or something. Tag Atheist Republic. If you want me to read your comment or if you have a question. Khair, I know that it's my Arabic is rusty, I forgot, but I can hear like, everything we know about this guy is good. You see the other coffins, right? You see the other coffins are there, like, but they're not that important apparently, right? The 2 that important are just Qasem Sulaymani and Mohandes. Mohandes was the leader of Kataib Hezbollah, which was one of Iran's proxies in Iraq. So the quote on the screen says, "The tyrant dies and his rule is over. The martyr dies and his rule begins." So the tyrant, they're probably talking about United States and the Zionists, and the martyrs are people like Qasem Soleimani. Like, his rule just began after he dies, right? Because now his memory and his legacy is going to rule. But the tyrant, yeah. But it's interesting how these people keep saying tyrant. Like, these people are dictators, and they keep referring to other people as tyrants, even though they're the biggest tyrants themselves. So somebody in the live chat is saying, so Shias are trained to cry. Well, it's not like you have a teacher that tells you this is how you cry. But like, you go through school and you have to, every year, the anniversary of Imam Hussein's death, like the Ashura is like, you have ceremonies and everybody is supposed to be upset about him dying 1400 years ago. Which is really, honestly, nobody can be upset about something that happened 1400 years ago, right? So everybody is crying is just pretending to cry. But you have to cry or else you're not a good person, right? So you just realize, like, okay, so I'm supposed to cry, but you're not really upset, so you just learn how to cry.
Shaheed Qasem Soleimani was the Major General of the Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC, and he was the...
So they keep showing his picture next to Khamenei to show how important it is, right? So you can see a lot of times both sides, the people that hate him and the people that love him, show pictures of Qasem Soleimani next to Khamenei, right? So the people that hate Qasem Soleimani, they want to show like how evil he was by putting him next to Khamenei, and the people that love him want to show them how great he was by putting him next to Khamenei.
Noble commander of the Sipahi Quds, the Quds Force. Back in the 1980s, he fought and helped defend his country and Islam against American-backed Saddam Hussein during the 8-year war, and he soon became a commander. Despite being opposed by America and its allies, Iran was victorious in that war against Saddam Hussein. Now,
it's very interesting because when I was growing up in Iran, we thought that the Iran-Iraq war, which Qasem Soleimani was a major part of that war. That's where he learned all his skills and everything. But he said like Iran was victorious, and he puts victorious on the screen. And that's what we were told when I was growing up in Iran, that Iran was victorious. And I believe, even after I stopped believing in Iranian propaganda, I still believe like Iran-Iraq war, Iran won. But later on, I realized, like, actually, nobody really won that war. Like, nobody, the borders stayed the same. All sides lost a ton of young people, so the numbers were in million. And the economy of both sides was destroyed, like, defined victorious. Nobody won the Iran-Iraq war. Both sides lost. Let me see. You said before that killing Soleimani was a stupid move, but yesterday you said it was a smart to de-escalate. No, okay, go back and watch the video. I said it was... I said it was strategic. It made sense if you're only caring about re-election and your image. I also... When did I say it was a stupid move? Did I actually say it was a stupid move? It did work. It didn't go into a World War III and all that stuff. Killing Qasem Soleimani has originally I said it's more complicated than calling it completely wrong, right? So it has some so if you want to decide if it was a good idea or not, there's some pros and cons to it. The cons was it gave Iran the legitimacy to be able to, the excuse to be able to twist the hand of the Iraqi parliament to kick United States out of Iraq in a way that Iraq will become Iran's playground. However, that doesn't work right now because Iraqi parliament is not really, it's just a caretaker government, so they don't have the capacity to kick United States out. So, but it might work eventually, right? So, and that, from that perspective, it would have helped Iran. Another way that it helped Iran is because these people like this, we'll see in this video, and all the propaganda coming from Iran managed to create a false sense of unity around Soleimani for a very short amount of time. I thought they're going to be able to milk this Qasem Soleimani killing for months to come, but they shot themselves in the foot by taking down the Ukraine plane. So that whole advantage of losing Soleimani was very short-lived. So killing of Qasem Soleimani could have been backfired for United States in two major ways. One, it helped Iran's PR narrative, but that didn't last long. And also, it might have helped Iran eventually kick United States out of Iraq. So in those two ways, it could be seen as a bad move. And another way, it could have been seen as an amazing move in a way that it was the only option you had for you to really attack United States in a very, very aggressive way. Attack Iran in a very aggressive way without actually going to a full-out war. I mean, if you don't think that's a good option to send that message, in response to Iran attacking a U.S. embassy, give me an alternative. What would be an alternative move the United States could have made against Iran? Maybe you have. I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying you don't. It doesn't exist. Maybe you could give me an option, and you were like, yeah, actually, you're right. That's a better option. But show me a good option for United States to be able to retaliate against, or have a strong response against Iran's attack on U.S. embassy without actually going to a full-out war. Just give me a scenario, and I might be like, oh yeah, you're right. You're a better tactician. You're a better strategist than Trump and his advisors. David is saying the drawing of Qasem Soleimani being embraced. Oh yeah, we'll get to that. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. You said it was risky, and okay. So see, you were putting more words in my mouth. I didn't say it was stupid. I said it was risky. No, okay. So and unexpected in APC. That's what I said. It was risky, which it was. It's extremely risky. It was like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. It was like any response would have been risky. This was extremely risky. And it was extremely unexpected, especially from Trump, because Iran had managed to get away with a lot of aggression without any reactions from the United States. So if that's what I said, I stand by it. I don't know if I said it was stupid. But if your second post comment is more reflective of what I said, then yes, I stand by those. Anyways, let's continue with this video. Can you guys focus on this video and comment on this video? Let's continue. By the way, this guy is like uber Shia.
A lot of people don't know this, but back in 2006, when Israel invaded Lebanon, General Qasem Soleimani was sent there as a key strategist. Together with Shahid Imad Moghniya, he protected Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. Due to this collaboration, Hezbollah and the people of Lebanon were victorious in this war against Israel.
Okay, this one I agree. This was victorious, okay? So, I mean, it was amazing. So, it was very humbling for Israel to be defeated by Hezbollah in such a humiliating way, because Israel has gone through, before this, had gone through a lot of wars against the Arabs and against Muslims, and they have crushed them. Like, they're a tiny little country surrounded by all these Arabs, and you have the 6-Day War and the other wars, and they like, yeah, we just kicked your, I can't swear. We just crushed them. We just crushed every battle. They crushed their enemies. So all of a sudden, Iran, after the Islamic Revolution, they start creating this proxy group in Lebanon called Hezbollah, and Qasem Soleimani was involved in that as well. And they come and defend the Palestinians against Israel, and Israel has to like, okay, we're at it. Like, they retreat. This was like such a major victory, and this is the only narrative. This is why Iran is so interested in the Palestinian narrative, because when it comes to exporting their revolution outside of the Iran's borders, they usually use the Shia narrative, but the Shia narrative could only get you so far. The Shia narrative can get you in Lebanon, in the Shia parts of Lebanon, and in Syria, in some parts of Syria, especially the leadership of Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, in some parts of Bahrain, in the oil-rich parts of Saudi Arabia. You cannot go farther than the Shia places in the Middle East if your narrative is only Shia. So, and you can't really just use the Islamic narrative to reach out to other Muslims, because the other Muslims keep getting reminded that, oh, you're Shia, you're not Sunni, you're not really Muslim then. So what do? The fact that they managed to defeat Israel, using Hezbollah, makes a lot of Muslims like, okay, fine, we like you, you're our ally. So this is why Iran is obsessed with the Palestinian issue, not because they care about the Palestinians. In fact, I don't think they want the Palestinians to be free, because if they were, they wouldn't be able to use this narrative anymore. But they want to act like they're the only defenders of Palestinians. Like, the Arab countries have betrayed the Palestinians. Nobody is protecting them. And it's only Iran that is protecting the Palestinians. And that's how you export the revolution to the other Islamic parts of the Middle East, which is not Shia, by acting as the guardian of the Palestinians. And this is what Turkey is now. Erdogan is trying to, Erdogan is saying, wow, this is really working for Iran. So they're getting in on that as well, right? So now they're just every time somebody says something happens in Palestine, Erdogan is out there like, the Palestinian people, we need to defend them, because it just works so well for Iran. So they want in on that as well, because the Arab countries have always abandoned the Palestinians. So now, yeah. Anyways, So, when he says this was victorious, yeah, I agree with that. That was victorious.
Then, back in 2012, when American-backed ISIS-Daesh terrorists popped seemingly out of nowhere and started creating absolute terror and turmoil across Syria, it was General Qasem Soleimani who was invited to come and help the people by the Syrian government. And while America and its puppet mouthpieces were leaping to try to paint Bashar al-Assad as a tyrant who, for some reason, bombs his own people, it was Iran and its allies who saw through all the lies and went to the aid of the people of Syria. Today, the people are resuming and rebuilding their homes in Syria under the secure presidency of Bashar al-Assad. The people of Syria were victorious against America's schemes.
Okay, so this is some truth to it and some lies mixed into it, okay? So yes, this was also victorious. So from the 3 victory claims, 2 of them are true, 2 of them are victorious. One of them, I don't think it was victorious. But this one, it was victorious. Soleimani managed to defeat ISIS. It won so many wars against, so many battles against ISIS groups. It was impressive. Like, people were shocked. Like, United States wasn't able to do that. Because here's the thing. To defeat ISIS, you cannot just rely on Russian planes or US planes. You need boots on the ground, and you don't need just boots on the ground. You need boots on the ground with the networking, with the know-how, with the connections, with the right ideology. And these people had that. These people had all these like tentacles all over these places, and they knew who was who and who was connected to. They had the know-how. So with much limited resources, they managed to win battles against ISIS in a way that United States and Saudi Arabia or Russia or any other country wasn't able to do. But what he doesn't mention, he said that Soleimani, when ISIS was in Syria, Soleimani went to Syria to defeat ISIS. That is a lie, because Soleimani went to Syria before ISIS was a thing. He went to he went to help. Soleimani went, the IRGC and Iran and their proxy groups under the leadership of Soleimani, they went to Syria to help Assad before ISIS. Why? Why would they go there before ISIS? Why would Assad need help? Why? Because there was an uprising. There was the Arab Spring. Soleimani was not there at the beginning to protect Assad against ISIS. Soleimani was in Syria to protect Assad against civilians, against people that wanted democracy, against people that were mostly secular. Well, mix of secular and other things. But they weren't like Islamic nut jobs like ISIS, okay? So that's what he was there for. So he's like, oh, he went there to defeat ISIS. Not originally. Originally, he went there to suppress the civilians. So when the Arab Spring happened, the Iran was like, yeah, these Arab dictators, go against them, bring down the monarchs, we support the Arab Spring, until the Arab Spring started happening in the countries that the leadership was Shia. I'm like, oh yeah, no, not there. When we support the Arab Spring, when it happens in Saudi Arabia, when it happens in Bahrain, when it happens in Egypt, when it happens in any Sunni country, any country that is ruled by Sunnis, but when it's ruled by Shias, we're gonna not only we do not support it, we're gonna actually send our militias there to protect the dictator. Like, he's like, oh, these tyrants, United States tyrants. But Soleimani was there to defend the tyrant that Assad is. She's for, wait. So somebody in the live chat is saying, I'm Syrian. Oh, wait. I can hear my phone. I need to reduce the volume. So Memes02 is saying, I'm Syrian, ex-Muslim. The guy just speaking exactly why mothers say she is for al-Assad. I have no idea what you're saying. Do exclude the chance that Soleimani was a goal because he was a threat to Israel. I don't know what you're saying. but I'll try to understand better. Anyways, let's continue.
Then, in 2014 to 15, when American-backed ISIS-Daesh rampaged through Iraq, spilling the blood of countless men, women and children, it was General Qasem Soleimani who was sent to counter them. And while others helped a great deal when it came to ridding the world of the filth of ISIS-Daesh, one name will always come to the minds of the people of the world when it comes to who actually destroyed ISIS. And that name is not Obama or Trump. No, it's Qasem Soleimani. Everywhere that General Qasem Soleimani and his soldiers were sent, they rescued the suffering people from agony, and they defended their human rights, fought for their freedoms, and delivered them to safety.
Did you see what she said? She said, oh, okay. So
fought for their freedoms.
So let me just address what he's saying right now. Okay, so he was like, and then in Iraq, Qasem Soleimani went and defeated ISIS in so many battles. Again, true. It could be argued, I mean, these things are never for sure, because it's not like a laboratory that you could like remove Qasem Soleimani and see what happens and add Qasem Soleimani and see what happens. But it could be argued that without Qasem Soleimani, ISIS will still be a major Islamic terrorist group in the world right now. That could be argued, right? And it's true. He defeated a lot of ISIS. He and his proxy groups defeated a lot of, fought a lot of wars against ISIS groups and won against them. However, what they don't mention in this video is that what Iranian proxy groups, the Shia proxy groups, consider to be ISIS plus ISIS sympathizers, right, is who? What does ISIS sympathizer means in the mind of a Shia militia guy? Sunni, that's what it means, right? So Sunni, so these, for them, these are all the same people, right? So for a Shia militia fighter, well, I don't know if all of them, but a lot of them, Sunnis are just all of them are part of the problem. This ISIS, Al Qaeda, all of this thing, this is a Sunni thing, right? You can see a lot of like videos of the attacks that they do against like ISIS when they like when they throwing missiles at ISIS or something. You can see that the writings that they have on the missiles is anti-Sunni messages, right? It's not anti-ISIS messages, it's anti-Sunni messages. You can hear that like songs that they sing and the chants that they have, these Shia groups. They don't have anti-ISIS messages, they have anti-Sunni messages. When they attack and they like liberate, quote unquote, liberate a city from ISIS, their liberation involves cleansing of Sunnis from that area, right? They killed, arrested, and tortured sometimes children with the accusation of being ISIS sympathizers for just being Sunni. They go there and they do demographic engineering. They like remove like ISIS. Oh, we come here, we defeated ISIS from this village or something. We're gonna kick out all the Sunni people, replace it with Shia. They wanna expand. Here's the thing: they defeat ISIS, these groups, but they love ISIS. Do you know why they love ISIS? Because ISIS has been the excuse that they always needed for the Iraqi government to be like, yes, please help us, come here, defeat ISIS. And they're like, okay, fine, we come here, and then they will never leave. Okay, like imagine if you're the Iraqi government, like we need your help, Iran, please, they're taking over our country. Like, okay, here's our militia. Let's defeat ISIS. They're like, oh, thank you, please kill these ISIS people, and then we defeat them. I'm like, okay, thank you. Are you gonna go home now? Nope, this is our home now. Like, and not only that this is our home, we're actually, our militias is actually an official part of the Iraqi government military. Like, wait, but this is loyal to Iran. Yep, like, so militias loyal to Iran are now officially part of the Iraqi military. Yep. Well, this is, I mean, you wanted help. What do you think the help came for no cost? Do you think we just came here to help you get rid of ISIS, and we're not just because, right? So this is what they're getting in return. So, but what was this lady say? So now it's going from Iraq, like he's showing like Soleimani. Soleimani was not like one of these generals. This is why people look at him as a hero. Like he wasn't like back at Tehran and be like, oh yeah, send armies there, send armies there. Like if you watch like documentaries of war generals, they're like in a room like drawing lines somewhere, and then somebody else is fighting battles somewhere else. No, he was there. Like he was right. Like he just popped out of nowhere every time like something was happening in the corner of Middle East. There was videos would come out of him like, oh my god, Qasem Soleimani was yesterday here and now he's over there. So he was very hands-on. That's why people look at him as a hero. But now it's going to cut from Iraq and now go to the people coming out in the streets in Iran to show support for Qasem Soleimani and against his killing, right? And people are upset and people crying. So this video is meant to show you, it's propaganda, but it's meant to show you that, oh, Iranian people are united and almost all Iranians are upset over this. Like, let's see what the Iranian people that they handpicked are saying in the streets.
Defended their human rights, fought for their freedoms, and delivered them to safety.
So she's like, we panah shadim. She means like we lost our protector. So you have to understand that understanding in Iran. So you know how in the United States a lot of people are like saying, wait, what are we doing in the Middle East? We have like roads here to build, and we don't have like universal health care, and we have so many problems in the United States. Why are we spending so much money on military and doing these things in other countries? Like, so a lot of Iranians have the same complaint, right? A lot of Iranians have the same complaint. They say like, wait a minute, why are we spending so much money? Why is the Iranian military in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Syria? Don't we have enough problems to solve at home? And the counter narrative to that by the Islamic Republic is like, listen, if we weren't attacking ISIS there, we would have to fight them back here. This is exactly what the United States tells its citizens, like, oh, we're fighting them over there, so we don't have to fight them in the United States, right? So for many years, like to convince Iranian people that like, look, listen, we have to fight ISIS, we're there to fight ISIS, which is not. They're not there to fight ISIS. In fact, they needed ISIS to be there for their own agenda. But what they tell Iranian people is like, we have to go there because if we don't fight ISIS over there, ISIS would be here in Iran. Look, the reason why Iran is secure, the reason why there's no war in Iran, the reason why there's not ISIS members cutting heads of Shia people in the middle of Tajrish in Tehran, the reason for that is because we're fighting them over there, so we don't have to fight them at home. And they did such an effective brainwashing that like a lot of people in Iran have been convinced, not all, again, a lot of people don't like it, but a lot of people are convinced that if it wasn't for Qasem Soleimani, Iranian women all of them would be raped by ISIS members like now, today. They would be all like sex slaves in ISIS markets right now. It's only Qasem Soleimani that saved them from that fate. There was nothing else between them and that fate other than Qasem Soleimani. So she's like this. You can see her crying, like, "Oh, we lost our protector. Like we are defenseless." Oh, okay. So memes O2, who is from Syria, he's confirming what I'm saying. He's saying true. Soleimani went to Syria just to support al-Assad, but fought against the weaponized opposition. Okay. Let's continue. So what is this guy saying? Saying, America, you will have to answer for this severely.
Oh my
God, this lady is her sign is saying something so bizarre that I'm not gonna even get to today. But she's saying like this is an interesting thing. You know why they're showing her? The reason why they're showing her is because her headscarf is not completely covering her hair. Okay? So by other Iranians, a woman like this is considered not religious. A woman like this is considered somebody that is putting her hijab on reluctantly. Did I say that right? Right. So the more religious type women in Iran, their headscarf is all the way here, covering their whole head, and it's usually not colorful. The less religious women in Iran, or non-religious women in Iran that are wearing their hijab because they're forced to, their hijab is only covering till here, and it's going back. It's slowly keep going back. Like, the more liberal you are and the more risk you want to take, the hijab goes down, down, down. And if the climate allows it and the government seems to be hands off, it sometimes goes all the way down and it just becomes like a scarf, around your neck, right? But this woman is considered like more liberal, less religious woman. So why would they show her? Why would they show a more religious woman, but also a less religious woman? Isn't this like coming from a religious channel? So why are they showing her? Because they want to show unity. Because they want to say, look, this support for Qasem Soleimani is crossing, ideological lines. It's not just the religious right in Iran that are upset about losing Qasem Soleimani. It's also more liberal. And it's very interesting that she's holding a side that is wishing death to Masih Ali-Najad, who's been fighting for women liberation in Iran. That's so messed up. I'm not going to go there. I have a lot of theories behind why would she hold a sign like this, but that's too much detail for you guys. So she says Qasem Soleimani was Iran's Hussein. If you guys know who Imam Hussein is, and why who died 1400 years ago, and how I mentioned you have to cry for him every year in his anniversary of death. He was Prophet Muhammad's grandchild, and he's very important to Shias. And I know a lot of Shias deny this, but Imam Hussein is more important to Shias than Muhammad himself, and arguably than Allah himself. So if you want to learn more about Imam Hussein and why he is so significant to Shia Muslims, go to the Secular Jihadist channel. We have a lot of discussions around these kind of topics. Just search for Shia versus Sunni Secular Jihadists. What is this guy saying? Saying we are all Sulaymani and we won't hold back in our response. Okay.
همه سلیمانی هستیم ما و کم نمیاریم. این خون رو فدا میکنیم واسه رهبریمون، واسه این انقلابی که شهدامون خون دادن براش، از اون نمیگذریم.
انقدر این حادثه تأسف باره، یه زاهده خیلی بزرگی به دل مردم ایران. من خواهش میکنم هر کی داره این تصاویر رو میبینه، تو رو خدا نشینین تو خونه هاتون. پسیم بیان وقاحت تا کجا، کثیف بودن تا کجا باید خون بدیم. جیگرم از صبح سوخت. کسی که سلامتی بچه من، راحتی بچه من الان مدیونشه.
He was an absolute hero and a shining star in this dark world without a shadow of doubt. But what is it that makes people love him so much? Not just in Iran, but all over the world. Why has...
How much you would have bet that he would address the people that hate his guts in Iran and around the world? Would he address that? Do you think he would be like, listen, I'm on the side of the people that love him, but there are also some people that hated his guts? Like, do you think he's going to address that?
Has the world gone so distraught and anguished over his martyrdom? Is it because he defeated America, the Zionists and the Takfiri Wahhabis at every turn? Is it because he is the most prominent factor, the bane and the cause of the destruction of ISIS? Or is it because of the millions of people in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon and other places too, who know that if they are relatively safe and prosperous today, if they have been saved from American domination, Israeli oppression and ISIS-Daesh massacre, then the reason they are safe is because of Qasem Soleimani? Maybe that...
Did you hear? Do you see the claim? The claim is that millions of people in Iran, Lebanon, and Iraq, and Syria are safe today from American oppression, Zionists, I don't know, whatever, and all that, and ISIS, because of this one man. That's a major claim, isn't it?
That's why they love him. The last 40 years, and especially the last 2 decades, have been almost too much to bear for the people of the world because of American hegemony. Too much bloodshed, too much deception, and too much oppression on a global scale. And as we watched all these things happen, we saw with our own eyes that it was the courage, the fortitude, the brilliance of this man which made the world that little bit brighter. He was like the Malik Ashtar to the Imam Ali of today, a man who was a lion on the battlefield and worshipped Allah by night, a man with a pure heart. And this is the real reason why our hearts bleed so much for Shaheed Qasem Sulaymani.
I wonder if he's like, okay, so he's like, so many people loved him so much. What about the people? What about the Sunnis? What about the civilians? What about the mothers of the Afghani children that this guy took their children to fight his war in countries that in countries that they don't even belong to? What about the fathers and mothers of people that this guy killed? Do you think they love, they love him? Oh my God. Yeah, so some in the live chat is saying we have a quite a reach on Facebook, but we need to increase our reach on YouTube. Yes, please share our videos so our YouTube grows. Mimoto is saying my family is for Al-Assad and cried hard when he died. Oh my God, your family is brainwashed. All right, let's continue.
Because everything he did in life was purely for the sake of Allah. He wasn't in it for himself. He was a pure soul who lived simply. The 62 years of his life was spent in worship of Allah, obedience to the deputy of Imam Mahdi, spreading love and hope to his family, to his friends, to his fellow countrymen.
Did you see the picture? This is a very powerful picture, Look at the propaganda. So he's praying, and in the middle of his praying, this child comes, gives him a gift, and he just lowers his hand to accept him a gift. There's a story of Imam Ali doing the same thing with the poor person, but he gave it was the other way around. But this is like such powerful propaganda. Look at the imagery. Like everyone is praying, and this child, and he's just in the middle of his prayer, he just lowers his hand just a little bit to accept the gift. Like you can't get better propaganda than this.
To his family, to his friends, to his fellow countrymen, and to the Muslims, Christians and Jews of West Asia and beyond. We saw this pure, genuine sincerity in this man, and we saw that when he was bringing victories to Iran, to the world of Islam, and he was restoring some of the dignity of the Muslim world, we saw him bringing victories, and with every victory our hearts grew more and more attached to him, until the 3rd of January 2020, when the cowardly, shameless and brutal Americans sent an airstrike which blew the body of Qasem Soleimani to pieces. I've seen the images of his body, and when you look upon it, it's difficult not to think of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions in the battlefield of Karbala.
See, this is the battlefield of Karbala. They constantly want to compare Soleimani to Imam Hussein and his death 1400 years ago in Karbala, and it's not even subtle. They're saying they just do it directly. They're comparing him to the holiest person in Shia Islam.
Iraq over 1,000 years ago.
Remember that name if you want to understand Iranian propaganda, Iranian theology, Shia Islam. It's not about Allah. It's not about Muhammad. It's first and most about Hussein, Imam Hussein first, and Imam Ali second. Shias will deny this, but that's what it's about. Shia Islam is Imam Hussein before Allah and before Muhammad. So, if you really want to understand why they constantly compare him to Imam Hussein, watch our shows on secular jihadists. Search Shia versus Sunni, secular jihadists.
Scorched, missing limbs, almost unrecognizable. The hand wearing his ring, which is a sign of a mu'min and a believer, is the only thing that has remained relatively intact. The Holy Quran says, and never think of those who have been killed in the cause of Allah as dead. Rather, they are alive with their Lord, receiving provision. Qasem Soleimani is more alive today than he ever was before. And he lives in our hearts, even if these hearts are full of grief. His family, his wife, his children, his grandchildren were all weeping. But alhamdulillah that they were not alone, because all of Iran was weeping at this loss. The turnouts were...
All of Iran? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? All of Iran? All of Iran was... What about the people that were dancing and celebrating and congratulating each other for his death, huh? What about that? What about the people that hated his guts? What about the people that accuse him of oppressing civilians? What about, true accusation? What about the people that remember? Okay, so a lot of people to defend Qasem Soleimani, to say like, oh, he didn't oppress Iranians. He did stuff in Lebanon and Syria and Afghanistan and Pakistan and Yemen and everywhere else, but not in Iran. Well, because that's true and not true. It's true because his job was outside of Iran's border. He was part of the Quds Force. The Quds Force is supposed to export their revolution outside of Iran. However, there are two things to remember. First of all, he approved of the oppressing people in Iran and to be very aggressive against the protesters. He approved of it. He even suggested that to the Iraqi government that, listen, we have expertise. You have protesters in the street. We know how to crush the protesters. This is what we have. We are experts on that in Iran. So even though he wasn't involved in that, he approved it. Second of all, a lot of Iranians that hate him constantly remind everybody that he co-signed a letter to the president accusing him of being too sympathetic to the protesters. So it made it very obvious where his allegiances were when it comes to the protesters in Iran against the government. I mean, of course, he's on the side of the supreme leader. It's funny that you even have to present these kind of evidences because it's kind of obvious, but people want to make stupid claims, so you actually have to go and find them real evidence because you wouldn't. Because some stuff that is obvious to me and other people, it's not really obvious to others.
Absolutely incredible. Men, women and children flooded the
Kafir is saying, Kafir in the live chat is saying, Karbala and Imam Hussein is the best story for inspiring Shia militias to fight Sunnis. It is. It's so powerful and it's so effective. It's so effective. You have to watch the videos of between Iran and Iraq and the Imam Hussein symbolism that was used against Saddam in that war. It's so powerful. I mean, even if you don't believe in it, if you keep listening to the stories long enough, you start tearing up.
The streets, shedding revolutionary tears and shouting anti-American slogans. I have never seen the noble people of Iran this full of pain and anguish. You have created a scene of Ashura and Muharram by this act, and the crowds are only growing bigger.
The crowd sizes are extremely high. Okay, I think even they were shocked at how successful they were to bring out this many people. There has never been this many people out in Iran as protests. The only time that might have been even remotely close, maybe it was when Khomeini died, and the number of people that showed up to mourn his death. But for the past 30 years, this many people have never showed up outside in Iranian streets. Okay, so that is very impressive. That is very impressive. However, and they come. So the people that are like, look at the protests against the government, the ones that me and other secularists, for example, or anti-government type people highlight. They're like, you guys highlight protests that a couple of hundred people showed up. And you're like, oh my God, look, the Islamic Republic might fall. Look how people are against the Islamic Republic. And you show us protests with a few hundred people showing up. And we are showing you millions of people. Like, so you take your couple of hundred protesters against the Islamic Republic, and we see that, and we raise you by a couple of million of people on our side that are coming out for Qasem Soleimani. That's their narrative, okay? Which is a powerful narrative. However, and I'm not saying this is true or not, but you have to consider it. I wonder how much these numbers would change if you wouldn't be shot to come out and protest against the government or arrested. 1,500 people were killed in the last protest, according to Reuters. Thousands more were arrested. If that wasn't the case, maybe the numbers would be a little bit more balanced. And the people on your side, and how many of them are part of the government, how many of them, because we know the pressure that it is on people to show up. You know, a lot of people, again, this number, I'm not trying to dismiss these numbers. These numbers are huge, and it does show a lot of support for the government. But a lot of these people are also, it's hard to say how much, would have lost their job if they didn't show up. You know, the amount of propaganda, like the advertising power that the government has. For 3 days longer, they had Qasem Sulaymani's picture everywhere. They were constantly mentioning him on radio, TV, every freaking second, every school, every house putting his pictures up. They're getting the kids to cry and beat their chests. Bringing, you know, it was non-stop. The whole country was turned into Qasem Soleimani. Okay, so the amount of advertising power that they have, imagine if the opposition have that advertising power. Maybe the numbers would be a little bit more balanced.
We are all heartbroken, from Iraq to Pakistan, from the UK to America, Canada to Kashmir, Yemen to Nigeria, everywhere. Those who have recognized the truth are mourning for this great and unparalleled, courageous and pure-hearted man.
Did you see that picture? Look at this picture. There are these Orthodox Jewish people. Why are they? And they're holding, they're holding Palestinian flags. This is probably, I don't know if it's true, but these are Orthodox Jewish people holding the Palestinian, is that? And they are mourning the death of the people that died in that attack. And it didn't even highlight it that much. It just showed it for half a second. But are these, like, somebody, I don't know much about these people, but correct me, please somebody tell me who these people are. And is it part of the Jewish group that is against Zionism, like the Orthodox Jewish against Zionism? I know they're a group of people that are like that because they think they shouldn't be in Israel until the Messiah comes back. So they support the rights of the Palestinians and all that because they think the Jews should be out of Israel. I don't know if that's them, but it might be.
And pure-hearted man.
Oh, look, so they showed Jews and now they're showing a Christian man supporting Qasem Soleimani. What is this Christian? So who is this? This is a Catholic mass held in Syria by this priest who's saying all what Qasem Soleimani and who's with him ever did was stand up against ISIS. Okay, this guy doesn't count. He's in Syria. If he's in Syria, he's under Assad's regime. Of course he's gonna support Qasem Soleimani.
قاسم سليماني ومن معه أنهم وقفوا في وجه داعش وفي وجه المنظمات الإرهابية التي أرادت.
American Israeli social media is attempting to block and censor those voices of freedom which are expressing condolences online. Just what are you afraid of? Simultaneously flooding the internet with mainstream media and belligerent mouthpieces of the USA regime attempting to slur and make Qasem Soleimani look like a bad guy.
He was a bad guy. Look like a bad guy.
You can fool all the people some of the time and you can fool some of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. This time, the truth is out. Not that Trump is even attempting to hide anything. He very triumphantly came out and said,
Soleimani was plotting imminent and sinister attacks on American diplomats and military personnel, but we caught him in the act and terminated him. We will find you. We will eliminate you. What the United States did yesterday should have been done long ago.
Trump has only accomplished 3 things. Number 1, he has united the Iranians and the Iraqis. Let's not...
For 3 days, until you shut down the Ukrainian plane.
Forget that when Trump ordered the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani, Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, the second in command of Iraq's popular mobilization units, Hashd al-Sha'bi, was also targeted. America martyred both of these great personalities. May Allah bless them and give them eternal peace. One was a commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, the other a commander of Iraq's Hashd al-Sha'bi. Both.
So yeah, so killing the Hashd al-Sha'bi guy was like, I think, really well. So a lot of people keep focusing on Qasem Soleimani, but killing Mohandas really also played in the hands of Iran as well, because he was officially part of Iraqi military. So yeah, he's part of Iraqi military that is controlled by Iran, but still technically officially part of the Iraqi military. So United States is in Iraq with the permission of the Iraqi government, and what are they doing with that permission? Shooting down members of the Iraqi military. So that is like, that gives Iran such a powerful weapon to use as a way to convince the parliament in Iraq to vote United States out of Iraq. I don't know if they're going to be successful with that or not, but it's a powerful move for them.
Both nations are mourning both of these heroes together. Now, the Iranians and Iraqis are more united than ever before.
Really now? Really? Okay, so you said because you killed Qasem Soleimani and Mohandas, you brought Iraq and Iran together. And now they're united more than ever before. Really? Are you going to mention all the protesters in Iraq that are asking for Iran to get out of their country? Are you going to mention that? No? Are you not going to mention that they were doing that before Qasem Soleimani and Mohandas were killed, and they continue doing that after that as well? Are you going to mention that they even went and burned Iranian consulates? Not one, not twice, but 3 times at least, the ones I've seen. One of them twice. One of them they burned it one night, and then they went and secured it, and they came back again and they burned it out again. Iranian consulates in Iraq. So are you going to mention that? At least say it and be like, okay, it happened, but it's not as big as the people that support Iran. Makes it more believable, but you don't even mention it.
So all of America's efforts to disunite them has now backfired. Number 2, he has ignited the flames of hostility against America. The people of the region, and indeed the world, have a revived sense of hatred for America. If Trump had been a little bit clever about this, he could have carried out the airstrike and then simply stepped back and said, I don't know who did it. Maybe it was the Iraqis. That would have made the Iranians hate the Iraqis and the Iraqis hate them back. Ta-da! Your mission to spread disunity in the region and stop them from fighting against the real enemy, you, would have been accomplished. But instead, Trump just came out and said, it was me. Like some boastful fool. This is precisely the deep-rooted...
You have no idea what he's... Okay, so you have no idea why Trump does that. Trump is not doing that to be like secretly like take out Qasem Soleimani because they hate Qasem Soleimani so much. He came out and say it was me because the whole point was to show strength to his base. So what? Like, you think he would do it secretly and not come out? So you have no idea the strategy behind killing Qasem, the point of killing Qasem Soleimani, because you attacked the United States embassy, and it would have looked pathetic and weak if they didn't retaliate. So if he killed Qasem Soleimani and kept it a secret, it would have continued to look like it was pathetic and weak, that because they had no response to an attack on the U.S. embassy. So obviously he's going to come out and say, yeah, it was me, I did it, because he has to show strength against your aggression.
American arrogance, just like Yazid, who boasted...
Wow! Just like Yazid. If you guys don't know who Yazid is the leader of the opposition to Hussein. So he wasn't at the army himself, but he was the leader of the army that killed Imam Hussein, right? And for Shias, Yazid is worse than the devil, right? So you know how I said for Shias, God is here and Hussein is here? Okay, so Hussein is more important than God, even though they wouldn't admit it. In the same way, the devil is here when it comes to amount of evilness, and Yazid is above Hussein. Yazid is above the devil for Shias when it comes to how evil somebody could be. Like Yazid is like, when I hear the word Yazid, I feel like, ugh, like evil, pure evil, right? It's very interesting because when I was in Vancouver, I met this ex-Muslim, ex-Sunni guy, because we were in a secret ex-Muslim group that were meeting with each other, and he said his name is Yazid, and I was like, what? And like, what's your name? It's like Yazid. I'm like, is that your real name? And he's like, yeah. Like, why would did your parents hate you? Because for me as an ex-Shia, it was so unbelievable that somebody would call their kid Yazid. But now he's comparing Trump. So if you want to know who Yazid is and why he's such an evil person, and he's the person that killed Hussein in such a brutal way, again, go watch our Secular Jihadist show on YouTube and search for Sunni versus Shia Secular Jihadist. It's 3 episodes. We cover almost everything there. Look at this propaganda. Okay, so
just like Yazid, who boastfully came out and showed no remorse for having slain Imam Hussein alayhi.
So you can see, you know why? Okay, so this is the general of the army against Hussein, and he's beheading Hussein, okay? And the reason why Hussein has his hand up like this is because, so Shias do have drawings of Muhammad and Hassan and Hussein and Ali and all that. They just don't show their faces, right? So it's okay to draw the holy figures, but you shouldn't draw their faces. So it's a very convenient way to block his face by having his hand over there like that. So he was, I don't know why he has arrows in him. I remember being told that he got spears in him at the end. But then he got so many spears in him and he was dying, and the general but he wasn't dead yet, and the general came and he beheaded him. And he took the head of Hussein and he took it to Yazid. So this is the stories that Iran uses as a way to spread its ideology. That the killing of Imam Hussein is the narrative that is always used to mobilize Shias against Sunnis, Shias against Americans, Shias against Israelis, Shias against monarchs. That's always their go-to narrative, right? The killing of Imam Hussein. They use that in Iran-Iraq war. They use that against Saudis. They use that against the Islamic Revolution of 1979. They use these narratives against the Pahlavi dynasty. They use this everywhere. This is such a powerful thing. If you go read the story, I think a really good book to read on that is After the Prophet. If you want to really get deep into it, understand the story. After the Prophet, it's a really good book that covers this story.
So mercilessly and in such a cowardly way. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. The third thing that Trump has accomplished by assassinating General Qasem Soleimani is perhaps the most important one. You see, General Qasem Soleimani has always been an important and dear figure to us. He was already an incredible person held dear to everyone. But now he has become Shaheed General Qasem Soleimani.
So first of all, let me address what he's saying and then address the painting. So he's saying Qasem Soleimani was obviously such a great person, but Shaheed is, so if Qasem Soleimani alive was here, Qasem Soleimani dead is over here. Why? Because this is Qasem Soleimani, which is already really great, but now that he's dead, he's a Shaheed. What does Shaheed mean? Shaheed means martyr, and martyr is the highest thing you could ever be, right? The highest place in heaven is reserved for martyrs in Islam, right? And his legacy as a martyr apparently is going to do more good in the world than Qasem Soleimani did while he was alive. So even though he was such a powerful force for good as when he was alive, he's going to be even a more powerful force for good dead as a martyr. And the painting that you're saying went viral everywhere among people that love Qasem Soleimani. This is him in heaven, and he's being embraced by who? Guess who? Who's embracing Qasem Soleimani? Say it in the live chat. You should know who this guy is. We've been mentioning him all the time. Who's Who's embracing Qasem Soleimani in heaven right now? He died. Qasem Soleimani died and gone to heaven. Who's welcoming him in heaven? Who's hugging him? You can't see his face. That should give you a tip. Somebody in the live chat mention. Come on, guys. Class in session. No, the 72 juicy versions is I grew up without anybody mentioning that to me. That was not a high. That was not something. That's something like, I don't know if Shias don't believe in that, or is it something that they're embarrassed about. The 72 version thing is not something that is advertised in Iran, either because I don't know why. Maybe it's because the Iranian culture doesn't really like that. So it seems a bit embarrassing. Yes, Hussein, thank you guys. This is Kafir and Memes02 saying, I think there's a delay between me and the live chat. Yeah, this is Hussein. It's Hussein embracing him in heaven. Not Ali. Duray is saying it's Ali. No, Ali. It's not Ali. It's Hussein. Hussein. Okay, let's continue. Not Allah. No. Not Imam Ali. No, this is Hussein. It must be Hussein.
He has become an eternal...
second painting. The second painting that was basically the theme was very interesting because you had Hussein embracing him again. You can see with the green and all that. But the people around him that are also welcoming him, these are all other martyrs that were allies to the Islamic Republic that died before him. Either martyrs or people that just died but were like very big figures in the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Eternal and heavenly role model for all of us. Shaheed Qasem Soleimani is far more powerful.
And you can see Khomeini is here as well. And the interesting thing about this painting is Khomeini is smiling in this picture. I dare you to go find a picture of Khomeini smiling. It's hard to do. I mean, Khomeini didn't used to smile that much. And in this painting, let me see, Khomeini images. All his pictures, he looks like very angry. Okay, so yeah, one of them is smiling, but 9 out of 10 pictures, he looks very, very upset. No, actually, not 9, actually, it seems like more like 29 out of 30 pictures, he looks very angry. But every picture of Khomeini that I remember of, he was always like grumpy, and so it was weird to me. It just seems out of character for him to be smiling in this picture.
Powerful than Qasem Soleimani. Here's what Trump said before.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. I believe that he will attack Iran sometime prior to the election because he thinks that's the only way he can get elected. Isn't it pathetic?
Because of Trump's action.
Yeah, people keep mentioning that Trump said that, but guess what? So you're like, oh, look, Trump is a hypocrite. But in this case, people are saying like, oh, he said Obama is going to go to war, and now he's going to war. Well, he didn't go to war. So that point is moot.
Actions today, Iranians and Iran has crossed off peace as an option when it comes to America. Before the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani, there were a lot of Iranians, general people, government officials and media personalities who were on the borderline. They wanted to try, despite all the atrocities of America and despite the bloody and ruthless track record of America, there were still people who wanted peace. Now, the people have realized that peace is no longer an option with America. They have realized that America is utterly ruthless, hegemonic and deceptive, and for that reason, not only the family of the Shaheed, not only the revolutionaries, not only the government, but the people of Iran themselves want vengeance for the blood of Shaheed Qasem Soleimani.
Alright, when you're doing anti-American propaganda, maybe don't play American music in the background. Isn't this the music that he's playing from the movie Interstellar? That's what the music. That's the music that he's playing. But he's saying that peace is no longer an option. Peace was never an option with Iran as the Islamic Republic. You think? Oh, it seemed like it was an option, but now because you killed Qasem Soleimani, is not. Really? So you think before the killing of Qasem Soleimani, for some people, peace was an option? With a country that has it in its constitution that they're supposed to be exporting the Islamic revolution beyond its borders, that the final destination is Jerusalem, that constantly like praises and sings songs about bringing Mecca and Medina under Iranian rule. Do you think, yeah, so before, yeah, peace was an option before, not anymore. This was the last, that now, no, we were going to give peace a chance before this, but not anymore. Really? Okay, sure.
And in fact, not only the people of Iran, but the leader of the Islamic Revolution himself has said Shahid Sulaymani is the international face of the resistance, and all who have a heartfelt connection to the resistance seek his blood vengeance. Now I want to make it absolutely clear that a vengeance is certainly coming. Iran and the revolutionaries are in no rush to bring that vengeance. But inshallah, when it does come, it will be a mighty, a divine, an earth-shaking vengeance that will cause the oppressors across the planet to tremble and their hearts to shake before they are ruined and utterly obliterated, and their allies and their supporters and their beneficiaries and their fans everywhere will be utterly shaken. At the same time, Iran, the Islamic Republic and the resistance regards the lives of innocent people as sacred and will never inflict any harm or pain on innocent civilians, but rather...
Okay. Are you guys scared? Does this guy scare you? So British Pakistani atheists in the live chat saying, "Keep up the great work, Armin. It is greatly appreciated." Oh my God, this brings back memories from each childhood memories. Americans will destroy, vengeance, blood. They will be earth-shattering. We're so strong. They're so weak. We're gonna defeat them. They will regret to stay. Oh my God. Like, me strong.
The perpetrators and aggressors, i.e. American politicians like Pompeo and others, military personnel, in short, the establishment, they are not going to have anywhere to run or anywhere to hide. Trump has sealed his fate, and I think he knows it. That's why he keeps on talking so much. Imam Khamenei has simply stated, severe revenge awaits those criminals who have tainted their filthy hands with his blood. And he doesn't need to say more.
I'm assuming that I'm not going to get a copyright strike for playing this guy's playing the Interstellar music. So his video has been up since January 7, and his video is still up, so I'm hoping I'm not going to get a copyright strike. It would be very unfair if we get a copyright strike, but he doesn't get a copyright strike.
Because we all know that when the leader says something, it happens. The USA, on the other hand, is panicking. Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah has stated, Trump and the fools with him don't realize what they've done, but time will show them. Some have quite accurately...
It's very convenient to make such vague threats, right? So imagine if somebody comes and punches you in the face, and you could be like, instead of punching them in the face, they're like, one day something is going to happen to you. I know it, and it will happen. You don't know when. I'm not going to say when. I'm not going to say where. But I'm going to do something sometime. And every time I could come to you like, well, did you take the revenge? What's happened to the big revenge? I'd be like, I didn't say when. I didn't say where. But it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. They're going to regret it. But I'm not going to give you any specifics, because then you can't hold me accountable for not delivering the promise. And in the meantime, everything that happens to Americans anywhere in the globe, and people don't know the reason why it happened, I'm going to be, maybe it was us. Plane went down. Maybe it was our revenge. Anyways.
Said that the murder of General Qasem Soleimani was a declaration of war. For almost my entire life, filthy American troops have been on Iraqi soil. Now, Iraqi lawmakers have approved a bill to expel US-led foreign forces.
See, this was my prediction before this vote happened, okay? So I'm going to brag a little bit about my prediction. I was like, when Qasem Soleimani was killed, I came out and say, this would be the play that Iran should make right now, right? You killed some bunch of Iraqis on Iraqi soil, part of the Iraqi military. This is great time for Iran to move in and be like, hey, all my all these little puppets that I have in Iraqi parliament, that I invested in, because Iraqi's government is not doesn't represent the people of Iraq. Iraqi's government represents who? Represents Iran. Well, at least the Shia parts of it, right? So all my work now is in growing my tentacles in Iraqi government should pay off right now. Like, okay, you killed a bunch of people. This is a great opportunity for us to force United States outside of Iraq by making the Iraqi parliament vote to expel U.S. forces. However, the only reason why it doesn't work is because the current government, because of the protest in Iraq, the government resigned, and this is a caretaker government, so this vote doesn't really apply. So, you know, it's good to see that not keeping people happy in Iraq is having such a major strategic disadvantage to Iran, because Iranian government and Iraqi government, they don't care about the people, they just care about their own interests, right? And that led to a lot of protests also in Lebanon. So the protests in Iraq, in Lebanon, and in Iran, I want that to have such a major cost to these governments. So the protests led to these votes not really counting, right? Because it was a protest that forced the government to resign, and that this is just now like a temporary government right now. So if this government wasn't temporary, this vote would be official, right? So see, this is what, when you don't keep the people happy, you know, it backfires on you.
From the country. Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah also said, the response to the blood of Sulaymani and al-Muhandis must be the expulsion of all US forces from the region. American forces need to get out, either on foot or in boxing.
I agree. And you know who else needs to get out? Iranian forces. Iranian forces should also get out of Iraq, out of Lebanon, out of Yemen, out of Syria, out of Africa, out of Nigeria. Can you believe that? They're in freaking Nigeria. I was like, what the hell, why are you guys in Nigeria? They're also in Nigeria. They're everywhere, these guys. Anyways.
Imam Khomeini said, kill us. Our ummah will only become more awakened. My dear brothers and sisters, my respected elders, fellow revolutionaries, fellow comrades, Shia, Sunnis alike, Christians, Jews and others, all those who identify themselves as belonging to the camp of the oppressed and who can see the realities. The enemy is doing everything they can to block our social media accounts, to block our websites, and to only allow the masses to hear.
Oh, now you don't like it. So when they came after, when we said like, oh, Islam bad and we lost our accounts, you guys are like, yay! And now you're saying like, let's celebrate the terrorists. And now you're losing your accounts. You're like, boo, really? Okay, so
their false narrative. You are the officers of the soft war, and Imam Khamenei has said that as the officers of the soft war, you are to fire at will. You must be bold and fearless in the face of the oppressors and ensure that the word of truth reaches.
Look at this painting. This is like, so apparently these are the women in the Karbala war, like when the war that Imam Hussein died in. Those are Yazid's forces, and apparently all their husbands are dead, but the women are standing strong. Like the women watching their husbands die, but they're standing strong, just watching their husbands dying.
The masses. The Holy Prophet is reported to have said, the greatest jihad is a word of truth in the face of a tyrant ruler. So
wait, the greatest jihad keeps changing all the time, doesn't it? Apparently the greatest jihad sometimes is the jihad on your own temptations, and then the greatest jihad turns into, no, it's telling the truth in the face of, you know, oppression. Make up your mind. What is the greatest jihad?
Slap the tyrant America, its representatives and its mouthpieces in the face with the truth. What is that truth? It is this: CENTCOM, the United States Central Command, is a terrorist organization. The CIA are terrorists. In fact, these are the most disastrous, bloodthirsty and well-funded terrorists on earth today. These are the enemies of justice, freedom, human rights and dignity.
You dare talk about human rights? You represent the Islamic Republic of Iran. Second only to China when it comes to number of people you have in prison. You dare talk about human rights violation? Are you serious? In a country where women's rights is not recognized, where minority rights are not recognized, where I can't go back to Iran. I cannot go back to Iran, the country I was born in, because of what I believe. I never killed anybody. I never robbed anybody. I never even hurt anybody. I actually, maybe when I was sparring in Taekwondo, I did hurt somebody, but that was consensual. Anyways, I didn't commit any crimes. My crime is like my opinions. And if I go back to Iran, I'll get hanged. I get hanged. And you like, that's the country you represent. And you like, human rights. Oh, like, yeah, okay.
CENTCOM and the CIA.
I'm not doing whataboutism, by the way. Like, people are like, oh, whataboutism. You know why I'm not doing whataboutism? Because I call out the United States on its human rights violations, especially in Yemen, especially when they support Saudi Arabia. Whataboutism, people, when you want to call out somebody on like a logical fallacy or something, please first understand it before accusing them of that, so you don't look like an idiot, okay? Whataboutism is when you excuse someone else's wrongdoing by pointing out to someone else's wrongdoing. Okay? It's not whataboutism when you're pointing out both of them as wrong. That's not whataboutism. That's consistency. That's anti-hypocrisy.
They are the enemies of the Savior of mankind. The Holy Quran states, indeed, Satan is an enemy to you, so take him as an enemy. Today, America is the great Satan, so take it in every way as the enemy. Do bara'ah in the true sense of the word and disassociate yourself entirely from the enemy. Cut your heart away from...
Disassociate yourself completely from United States. Says the person that is talking to us on YouTube, an American company.
From the enemy. If you are living in America and you were thinking of leaving, now would be the time. Boycott America. Don't invest in America. It is a terrorist regime. In fact, the economists of the world should ditch the dollar. The Muslims, Christians and Jews should take a careful look at what America wants from them and then do the opposite. If it wants you to fight amongst yourselves, be peaceful and unite. If it wants you to shut up, take this bribe and be peaceful, get up and fight. If one's own government is helping America, then the people should protest, demonstrate and take actions to stop their government from helping America in any way. Imam Khomeini taught us, and Imam Khamenei re-emphasized, to let all your shouts and cries against the US. While the revolutionaries and the Muslims generally would never even think of harming innocent civilians, and they would never even...
I mean, do I have to repeat this every time? He's like, ever think of hurting innocent civilians? Dude, you kill your own civilians. You want to ignore the Iraqi Sunni civilians that that Sulaymani killed? Okay, let's ignore that. You want to ignore the children that you sent to war? Let's forget that. You want to forget the fact that in Syria, Sulaymani was dubbed as the child murderer? Okay, let's forget that. How about your own goddamn citizens? Huh? How about the 1,500 people that were killed just last month in Iran for the crime of coming out in the street and demanding a government that represents them? How about that? Never dream of killing civilians? Are you serious? Like, who are you talking? Like, who is this for? Like, are we idiots?
Been threatened.
Let me see, actually.
While the revolutionaries and the Muslims generally would never even think of harming innocent civilians, and they would never even threaten the innocent people, Trump literally threatened the people of Iran in his tweet. This is an act of terror.
Okay, it's not actually... Okay, this is one of the dumbest tweets Trump has ever sent. And I explained that in an episode of in Secular Jihadists. Search for Qasem Sulaymani Secular Jihadists. I go into a lot of detail on that. But it's not technically threatening civilians. Sites and civilians are two different things, right? I don't support Trump, by the way. I think Trump is a war criminal. But in this tweet, he didn't really say anything against killing civilians. One thing. Another thing, He actually hasn't killed any Iranian civilians, and your government has.
But when all is said and done, Trump is just a pawn. It's the system of America which is the problem. His predecessor fooled the world into thinking he was an angel when he was just as devilish as Trump. Guys, it's the system, the pharaonic system of America.
Look, this is. Do you see that? The pharaonic. What is this? This is some Illuminati nonsense. They believe this stuff. They believe in like Illuminati and all.
When he was just as
For them, Illuminati is the same thing as like global Zionism nonsense.
devilish as Trump. Guys, it's the system, the pharaonic
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this imagery. They know who they know their audience.
system of America that's the problem. Now is the time for you to recognize your enemies and recognize your allies. Now is the time to
Bye, guy. Darko is leaving. Who's leaving? Guy, bye. Whoever's leaving. Is it vibrantly?
become a proud besiege, a comrade of this revolution, a comrade of the resistance, wherever you are. We must know now more than ever.
Look, again, for the people that say Iran is not there's no evidence of Iran supporting these terrorist proxy groups. Look at these flags. Look at these guys. This one here is the Fatimiyun. This one is the Zainabiyun. This is Hashd Shabi. You have Hezbollah. They're not shy. They don't hide the fact that they sponsor these terrorist groups.
Before that, if we are to be successful in serving the cause of Imam.
What was that? Okay, look at the imagery. Okay, who is this? Who do you think this is? Imam Mahdi. Okay, so I think this is. Wait, why are Roman soldiers here? This is a soldier. I see a soldier on the left with an Iranian flag. I see some. Yeah, I don't know who this. This is either Imam Hussein or Imam Mahdi, the 12 Imam that are supposed to come back at the end of time. I see Napoleon here. This is like Assassin's Creed kind of like stuff. It's like going across all times. Yeah, so I don't think this is Imam Hussein, given there are people around him, because the people around him seems to be people from all ages, from different eras. So given that Imam Mahdi went across many different times, this must be Imam Mahdi.
The cause of Imam Mahdi,
yeah,
then we must
Mahdi.
Follow
the 12 Imam in the. Okay, so that's also a very important figure, which we explained in the episodes that I mentioned.
The guidance, direction and commands of his representative and Waliul Faqih, Imam Khamenei. He is the lantern that will guide you to the path of Imam Mahdi. Wilayatul Faqih is the practice run before the real uprising of Imam Mahdi. If you fail here, chances are you won't succeed there.
So just a quick, Imam Mahdi is the person that is kind of like a Jesus figure for Shias. Is kind of like a Messiah, that is a Messiah figure that's supposed to come at the end of time and make the whole world for Muslims. It's the 12 Imam in 12 of Shia Islam. If you want to know who Imam Mahdi is and what is he going to do when he comes back at the end of time, you could also check out Secular Jihadists, Shia versus Sunni. Listen to episode 1, 2, or 3. We go over all of this. And that's important as well.
Today we must prove to the enemy that if they kill one of us, 1,000 more of us will rise to the challenge. Every one of us today must exhibit the same loyalty that Shaheed Qasem Sulaymani showed to the leadership. We must prove that we have the same love, the same dedication, the same willingness to sacrifice for the cause, and the same piety and humbleness that Shaheed Qasem Soleimani had. Imam Khamenei has said, all friends and indeed all enemies should know that the path of jihad and resistance continues with increased motivation, and certain victory awaits the Mujahideen on this blessed path. The absence of our dear and self-sacrificing Sardar, commander, is bitter, but the continuation of the resistance and its final victory will be more bitter for the murderers and criminals. Let me just remind you of what Qasem Soleimani himself said when Trump previously threatened Iran. You know that this war would mean the annihilation of all that you have. You may start this war, but we will decide the end of it.
Okay, so this is Soleimani's daughter. Her speech after the Soleimani's death went viral in Iran. So I don't know which parts of it he claims. It says, "You idiot Trump, you are the symbol of ignorance and puppet of the Zionists." I never understood it. Are they like they can't seem to get this straight? Like a lot of Muslims say the Zionists are the puppets of the imperialist West, and then you're like, no, the imperialist West is the puppets of the Zionists. Come up with a. Does it work both ways? I don't know.
و بازیچه دست صهیونیسمی خیال نکن با شهادت پدرم همه چیز تمام شد رهبرم پدرم دو پدری داشت که در کنارش بود
My leader, my father, had a father, Khamenei, who was beside him and supported him. So she really demands revenge. Like, I think she's a bit disappointed right now. I'm guessing, this is just a guess, that because she was like, in her speeches, she's like, Khamenei is going to get revenge, he's going to crush the United States. And he also said, my uncle. I mean, when she says my father's father, she's talking about Khamenei, like as if Khamenei is like a father figure to Qasem Sulaymani. But when she says uncle, he's talking about Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon, because she's kind of saying like Qasem Soleimani and Nasrallah were like brothers, so that would make Nasrallah her uncle. And she's saying, my uncle will take revenge.
در کنارش ایستاد و ما هم همانند پدرم در کنارش خواهیم. الله اکبر.
Gross.
الله اکبر.
So yeah, that was. Let me know if you guys like this. By the way, if you watch all the way here, and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you not subscribed? You obviously enjoy the content that I'm giving you. If you watch this far, so subscribe. And given that I'm not going to tell you guys when I'm going to be live next because I don't know when I'm going to be live next. Don't just subscribe. Hit that bell thingy because that's the only way you're going to get notified when I go live. So you could take part in the live chat, and if you tag me, I'll read what you're saying, and you can be part of the discussion. And you can see your comments shows up on the screen, and it's just going to be there forever in these videos. So yeah, hit the subscribe thingy and hit that bell thingy. It should be right over here. Do it now, right now, and also share the video right now, not tomorrow, now. Share it, support this channel. Help it grow. I'm doing a lot of work for you guys. You don't get this kind of detailed explanation of these things anywhere else. I've looked. You don't. I've looked everywhere. Nobody's giving you this much detail. Okay? So, subscribe and share it and help this channel grow. Live test saying that video is disgusting and evil. Good on you, Armin, for taking it down. Thank you. Anyways, love you guys. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for being part of the live chat. Share the video. Share it. Good. All right. Bye.